that those background checks come back in a satisfactory manner to this board, then we would have Mr. Murch contract with the board to be our next police chief. I can tell you that we're really excited about it. He was the, well, first off, he started in the United States Army as a Desert Storm veteran from 1987 to 1991, then moved on to be an officer at the Lee Police Department, was there for approximately 7 or 8 years, and then became chief at the Lee Police Department for 13 more years. He retired from the chief police department, saw this position, knew that this was the position that was right for him, and as a result, wants to come out of retirement and to stabilize and work with our police department. So I'm real excited to introduce to everyone Chester Murch. Yeah, and thank you for coming tonight.
Did you say Barrington? Yes. Nobody could hear him because he was back there.
You need a microphone?
No.
Chief of Brentwood. There you go. As I said, we should be getting those background checks soon, within a what we believe to be a reasonably timely manner, and upon the board's satisfaction and review and satisfaction, we will be entering that contract. So again, thank you. All right. I know we have budgets today, but there was some old business dealing with Dr. Wilson, so I would like to move that up onto the agenda. We had some discussion about it last time to set this up. His home has on it 3 units, a primary home and 2 separate units, which would be considered a duplex, and then a ADU, and there was questions in terms of the saleability, and you were looking for some relief from the board. Meanwhile, we did some investigation, including a site visit, and I know there were some concerns about how we do this as a board, but I think we may have found a potential solution, so I'll have Mr. Kennedy talk about that solution, and I know he did this in conjunction with our town planner, Mr. Greenwood. In coordination with Mark consulting with Mr. Greenwood, Glenn Greenwood on this, I had asked Mark to prepare a potential memo on this for our review.
Yeah. Mark Kennedy, Lane's Administrator for the Town of Brentwood. So yes, I visited the site along with our code enforcement officer, went through the floor plan of the building. What is stated is actually factual, that these are the 3 units in question. I consulted with Mr. Greenwood. He drafted part of this letter. I made some additions to the letter. The letter I present to you now, would you like me to read it for the record, sir?
Please do, yes.
It's a memo to the property file from the Brentwood Selectboard. The date, the subject, establishing existing conditions for the property located at 56 Hague Road, Brentwood, New Hampshire. A review of the property file for this location indicates that through properly issued building permits, circumstances have resulted in structures failing to conform to the town zoning ordinance. This happened over many years, and now a non-conforming 2-family residence and an accessory dwelling unit are located on site. Zoning does not allow duplexes, and accessory dwelling units are not permitted in association with structures other than single-family dwellings. On October 16th, 2025, representatives of the Town of Brentwood conducted a site visit to confirm that the 3 units constitute all the individual units on site. The Select Board confirms that these circumstances exist and no code enforcement actions will be taken to force compliance with the zoning ordinance 300.002.006.003, considering the record showing permits were granted by the town for each unit. The board also goes on record to state that the accessory dwelling unit ordinance requires that the property owner shall always reside in one of the units on premises.
And the reason for the last statement or the last paragraph is that's the requirement under our existing ordinance.
Correct, and we want to make that clear to the current owner and also a future owner.
So, and I think the concern last time was that we would, felt uncomfortable as a board to be making some sort of exemption per se, but this is really different in the sense that we're just merely acknowledging the existing conditions, acknowledging that those conditions occurred with building permits that were issued, and we're placing and issuing this memo and placing it in the file so that anyone who is purchasing the property could see what was done.
Yeah, and this is simply a note to file, meaning anybody searching any property records in reference to this file will come across it. And if you adopt it, I would put it in the property file located with the town clerk and also in the planning board records.
Is this memo satisfactory in terms of what you're seeking, Dr. Wilson?
Yes, it took me back to property law school days, but yes, I think it serves the bill quite nicely. Thank you.
You're absolutely welcome.
Who was your property professor?
Oh, my Lord. You know, I probably could have told you if you hadn't asked me. If I stopped thinking about it, I might get it.
Professor Rickman at Boston University, the old Socratic method.
Oh, yes.
Yeah.
All right, so I'm gonna make a motion. The only thing I guess I want to bring up is the date on here is October 16th, but today's the 21st.
That was the day of the site visit.
Correct.
Or is that the date that it was written?
I would have to look at the calendar. Yeah, I probably wrote it the day after.
We could add our
I
dates
conferred with-
to the bottom at the signature so it shows
That's
that we're
fine.
adopting it as of October 21st.
If we do that, I'm fine with making a motion to accept this and sign it.
I'll second it.
Any discussion about this approach and procedure?
No, I just want to verify that you double-checked the tax map numbers and the zoning numbers.
I did.
Okay.
Yep, I pulled that number straight from our zoning book.
Okay, perfect. My only question.
Okay. Seeing no further discussion, all in favor?
Aye.
Thank you.
We're all
You have,
good?
do you have a single copy to sign?
Yeah.
Yeah. we'll sign
If
one
you
copy,
do that, I
send it
can
to you.
scan it right now and provide Mr. Wilson with a copy.
Very much appreciated.
Thank you. Appreciate you coming in.
Here you go, sir. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Mark.
Thank you. Have a good night.
Yeah, have a good night.
And can you, after you scan it, can you get a copy for Julie too? Appreciate it. Thank you.
Okay. we're moving on to budgets, but before we get to the substantive portion of budgets, are a couple of procedural issues that I did want to discuss with regard to the budgets. First is pertaining to the appointment schedule. I know Julie earlier in the week had sent out a proposed change in the appointment schedule where I believe it was the November 25th date would be moved a week back. So that would end up being December 2nd.
Did you move any up?
All right. And I think corresponding with that, November 25th, it being Thanksgiving week. I know it's a holiday week. I can tell you that I'm not going to be available that week as I'm going to be out of town.
I make a motion that we're on break that week.
Second.
Any discussion?
Do we still have to come in and sign papers?
I'll be around.
Is there
We
any
just
way
need
to
three to do that.
do it like e-sign?
Mm-mm.
We're not that technologically driven.
Could we look into that as an option?
I don't think we have auto pen options.
I know we looked into it during COVID and we could not electronically sign a document.
Okay.
I'll be here.
I'll be around anyway too, so I can sign it.
As long as
And
we
I'll
have
be
three,
here,
so
yeah.
yeah, we should be all set. Okay. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
And
Sorry, what, that was for not having a meeting?
Not having a meeting,
Yeah.
scheduled meeting.
Aye.
It'd be like a summer schedule.
and then, do you have the new appointment budgets? If you want
yes.
to read those off.
I moved insurance to November 4th, waste collection and disposal to November 18th, and police and animal control and benefits to December 2nd. The last two I pushed out just to give Chief Murch an opportunity to review the budget and make any changes, if any, and to give the Healthcare Committee an opportunity to come up with some recommendations there.
Could you, sorry. Okay, so you already took that one out. Can I make a suggestion separate from that or in conjunction with that?
Sure.
I'd like to switch highway and fire.
Highway is on the 28th of October.
Yep.
And fire is on November 18th.
Yep. So I had sent an email, I think 3 weeks ago, asking to move the big three budgets sooner, since making small cuts to small budgets is not going to be very helpful. So I was hoping that we could see the big budget sooner rather than later.
I mean, my only concern and about that is I feel as though, you know, we set this schedule and people have certain, you know, expectations and may be relying on it. I'm not sure why it makes a,
We can ask for a draft.
So they were supposed to already give us a draft. That was what we were supposed to have on September
don't have it yet.
18th, and they have not provided any backup for their draft numbers, which is why I thought it might be good to get that sooner rather than later, so that if it's going to be more back and forth, we have more time to do that.
I can guarantee it's gonna be a back and forth.
Then,
well, we can
Okay.
certainly ask, I mean, we have them on, we have fire on for the November 18th. I mean, we can, you know, have Julie formally ask
To come in prior.
for that information.
It is 3 weeks earlier, but I can,
I mean, just to be clear, I've been asking for that information for at least the last 6 weeks and getting no response.
Well, that's true.
So I'm not sure what Julie would be able to do.
Well, I mean, maybe we can have them in,
Have them come in early, have,
but then
ask them to
I would
come in
keep them
early.
on the 18th as well for the more substantive discussion, so that we could at least,
Yeah.
you know, have them come in to get their earlier, you know, draft and itemization.
And then we can give him some different directions or guidance of what we're seeking, so he can tweak it and adjust it as needed.
do you want me to keep highway on the 28th as well, or do you want me to move them?
I'm fine keeping highway on the 28th. The only thing that I would maybe give him a heads up about is last year he had asked for another person to serve as his second in command. And I know we've been talking about having a bench for a while. Last year, I think we had said we were going to wait. Um, I hope that he's asking us for that this year. So,
I would keep them on for the 28th unless there's some reason to move it. But then we can have fire preliminarily on the 28th with the more substantive discussion to occur thereafter.
can I just ask why preliminarily, if they already gave us their final budget on September 18th, shouldn't they already have all this information?
Well, I'd like to see, it doesn't give us a lot of time, and I'd like to see their itemization of what it is and give them direction. So that's why I think their budget is important enough that we, I think, should set it on both dates.
If we don't need the latter one, we don't use it, but at least it's there. We have it if we need it.
Yeah, we've given them an expectation too of the 18th, so I don't want to completely upset that apple cart.
The expectation was September 18th. That's why I'm confused that we haven't got the answers yet. We asked everyone to give us their final budget numbers on September 18th.
Which we got, but
Which
we
we
just
got-
didn't get explanations.
We got it from everyone except for fire.
Which is a good reason to call them in ahead of time,
Right, which is what we're doing.
to set
Okay.
the table.
I don't need to say it's preliminary, I can just say to come in.
Yeah, if they want to meet with you about the budget and be prepared to discuss it, is all I would know.
Yep.
Yep.
And if he's watching, be prepared. I won't be gentle.
Okay, I don't know that we need a motion for that, but I think we're probably good.
Got it.
Resetting. Oh, second procedural item, and this is, so this goes back to when we were initially requesting the proposed budgets from the departments. There was a communication from Letty that had indicated an assumption of that everyone should assume a 3% salary increase for staff. And my concern is that we've also indicated as a board that we're looking to level fund budgets. So I do have concern that there's a disconnect in terms of the signal that we're giving to the departments, and I think that we need to discuss that and give some signal to the board, because I don't think that that communique was formally adopted as a board procedure or policy. So I think we need to do something to at least be out there in terms of what we're communicating.
A blanket 3% raise.
That is not, so just for clarity, since I'm the one that sent the email,
Please.
I said as a placeholder until such time that the board, as we usually do in the fall, sets the COLA for the year. That's actually something I have in my notes. The federal Social Security COLA numbers were just released today. But
What are they coming in at?
they're estimating 2.7. Assume that the federal government opens to tell us that at the end of the week. But either way, it's just a placeholder. And then the only other thing that I think it's worth clarifying is that I think the board's intent was to level fund the operating budget, which does not mean individual budgets are level funded.
Understood.
Okay.
I can tell you just from some of the discussions I've had, some of the boards, they literally felt like it was a 3% raise, guaranteed. And I told them that's not the case.
I mean, the email says placeholder, so,
Setting the record straight.
Yep.
It's not a guarantee you're getting a 3% raise.
yep. So do you want a motion, or how do you want to proceed?
It's a good question.
I think it's just sending the message. to the
Yeah.
board that we haven't adopted that everyone's guaranteed a 3% raise.
Yeah, nor a COLA,
Yeah.
for that matter.
We're still gonna be looking at budgets and looking at pay rates. You know, I like to look at things by merit, right? So if I've given somebody, you know, if somebody started recently, I'm not gonna be looking to give them a bump immediately. We just did that with the building inspector. He's getting, after 6 months, he gets reviewed again. So he's not gonna be on that same schedule. Because he's on a different schedule based on the agreement he's hiring.
And I appreciate the clarification, Letty, that it was, you know, set forth as a quote-unquote placeholder. I think, you know, the concern is that, and at least as I'm hearing it, it does, you know, people see the number, it sets a certain expectation, and I just want to make sure that, you know, the message is heard, that there's no expectation.
From the board as a whole.
Yeah, yeah. And I don't know that we necessarily need to vote on that. I just want
Send the message.
the message to be out there. So, having said that, we're now beyond the procedural issues, unless anyone else has a procedural issue before we get into the substantive budgets that I know Daphne is anxiously awaiting.
Come on up. You're next contestant. Be careful of this chair. Tire's missing in the back.
Good night.
Bye, guys.
All right, Daphne, that's the trick chair. Just watch out.
That one's got a missing tire somewhere in the back, so don't lean backwards.
I don't think your mic's on, Daphne.
It is now.
I know, right? Maybe they're still in his inbox. Cut. I should. Jeez.
Not really sure what that is,
Corvette.
so someone doesn't need a.
It's her new toy.
That's the new patrol car.
Yes. That's the pace car. The Jeep sounds nothing like that.
Where would you like to start? Page
guess-
1?
The beginning, bring us through line by line. if you
Okay.
like. Yep.
So the first page is the town clerk budget. I had heard during a meeting that we were doing the 13 and 39 weeks again instead of the 52. Okay, so that's how that separated out. Since last year, I did lose a person that had retirement, and now I have a person that doesn't have benefits or retirement, so that's why there's less percentage there.
You mean on the third line?
Yep.
Yep.
Well, and even farther down in the FICA and the retirement.
Mhm.
The pages, unfortunately, the way it prints out, if you put the first and second page next to each other, it goes all the way across to at the top to show retirement and FICA and all of that.
Because that's a single person, or those are 3 separate peoples, and they're just half,
Right.
exactly half split between the 2 departments?
Yes, it is split between 2. The only real difference in this budget is the increase for conventions to be able to bring Heather to the conference, which we, the last few years, have been doing, well, tried to do, but we've had staffing situations and she hasn't been able to go with me. And now the prices have increased. And then dog licenses, the actual physical dog licenses have increased in price.
From 1,500 to 2,000 on that increase.
The dog
Conventions,
licenses,
conven-
oh,
no,
yeah, I was like, no.
The conventions.
The conventions, yes.
Dog licenses are $50.
This year, in that convention line, you will see I have not used anything under town clerk because, under tax, because I was the president this year, and the association paid for me going to the conference.
Nothing for software or anything, huh?
Nope, none of that stuff's in my budget. I think that comes underneath information. There were a couple things, the last couple years, like postage was taken out of my budget. I don't know if you want to keep it that way, but it seemed that they wanted it all under just one line item. That's up to you. But there is still $1 in there, in case you wanted to change that.
I don't know if everyone's had a chance to go through this, but if they have, is there questions?
$1,606 raise on that line. You want to talk about the wages? Tell me what the thought process is. I see you got a 6.69.
These we did 3%.
So the 6.69 is because of the 13 and 39 week thing. If we were to switch it to a straight 52 week, that wouldn't happen anymore.
It would literally be 3. Yep,
3% on both lines is what you did?
yep,
As a placeholder, it's not an expectation you have.
yes, thank you, yes.
Just wanted to make sure you were clear.
Just doing math.
Clarify for me the 39 and the 52 weeks, because I was thinking that the 39 weeks would result in a lesser increase, but maybe I'm not understanding the calculation.
Because the first 13 weeks, you're going by last year's rate. There's
Correct.
no raise there. And then the 39, the 2 girls, they have more weeks because I have to pay them extra hours to go to elections. And that's why those weeks look different.
How many elections do you have this year?
This coming year, we have 3. So prepare yourselves for that as well.
What's the, here's your rates right here. Sorry, I know you guys are patiently waiting for me to do my math.
Yeah, and I'm sorry, I'm still, and maybe someone can help me, but
So they are-
6.69.
Yeah, and
how does that
I'll walk you
how does
through
that calculate to 3?
it. Well, I think because you're gonna have benefits increase, you're gonna have a bunch of other increases.
You're
but
comparing
Mm-mm.
it to the year prior, so the
They have
13 weeks
13
the
weeks.
year prior was drastically different than it is the 13 weeks
This
the
year.
beginning of 26.
So I just
It
basically.
just skews the numbers.
Yeah, so I just took the hourly rate that she has, add 3% to it, so 39.11, add 3% comes to the 40.28, and 4.26 plus 3. That gets me 24.99 because you rounded, right?
24.99. Well, yeah, because a 7 is more than a 5, so
know.
I rounded up to the penny.
But I'm the opposite. I don't do that.
Oh, I know, you are. That's okay.
Can I just ask for clarification, Daphne? I just
Yep.
used you as an example because you're the top line.
Yep,
Total with the 13 and 39 split, you're getting paid the total of that 20 and 62.
yep,
So that's $83,174.
yep.
So if I were to compare that to just instead of splitting it that way, just 52 weeks at the 40/28. I get a total of 83,782. It's about a $600 difference, just so everyone knows what the cost of switching over would be. And it would be a one-time, because then it would just be 52 weeks from here on out. Am I doing that math correctly?
Yeah, and I can tell you, companies have moved to doing the same thing on April 1st. Working in the private sector, I can tell you that they used to do the yearly, and now they're doing as of April 1st. And that's been going on for, oh God, at least the last 12 years that I can remember. So I'm fine with keeping it as we've been doing it, because I think until we go to the town meeting and it's ratified by the town legislature at the town meeting, we should be consistent with staying that way versus going to a 52-day period.
I think
Staying ahead.
we as a board get to decide how we want to do our pay
Okay,
periods.
well, now you know how I'm gonna vote.
Oh, great, yeah. I know that, and maybe you weren't, I don't know if you were on the board when this happened, a couple years ago, there was a cut made at town meetings specifically with the intent of cutting off raises from employees, and the board at that time decided to not do that. So the board has discretion within the bottom line number to decide where we want to
Board
put the
can
money.
decide they wanna pay somebody $1 million, whether they have the money or not, so I think it's prudent to say,
I think comparing $600 to $1 million is kind of ridiculous.
well, I'm giving you why I think it's ridiculous to change that process.
Okay. I mean, we're paying somebody for 52 weeks either way. We might as well
You're
align
right.
it with the budget.
But the raise for all the employees that have been here have always started effective after the town meeting, after the first 13 weeks.
We,
So we're staying consistent with that, and I agree with that approach.
okay.
If I had $600 here, $600 there, and I'm already broke, I'm still broke.
I don't think we're broke.
So getting back to the numbers,
I see it's a 3%.
3%, right? And I guess the question is how
And-
people feel about that.
I feel fine about that. My intent would be when the board decides what, if any, COLA increase for this year would be, that we would reopen all budgets at the same time and make those adjustments. So I'm fine with 3 as the placeholder.
And I don't think that, you could look at Daphne's office either way. Daphne and Heather, I think, have an outstanding reputation with the citizens of town and do their job extremely well. Daphne's responsible for how many millions of dollars that pass through your office?
Millions and millions and millions.
The stuff that pays the bills.
Yes, so
That's the stuff that pays the bills.
I don't think the salaries requested are unreasonable. And I'm sorry, I can't speak to Lisa because I've met her, but I don't know her.
Yes. She's fantastic. She's learning very quickly. This is perfect fit for our office. And she doesn't take retirement or health insurance yet.
So overall, your total budget is coming in at 2.62 increase?
For tax and 2.71 for town clerk.
It's 2 separate budgets.
Oh, right.
Yeah, they don't have the same things in them.
So overall, the budget's coming in lower than what we are. I'm fine with the wages based on what I'm seeing, so I'm gonna make a motion for tax collector. Which one's which?
This is
Oh, so this is town clerk. So town clerk, I'm gonna make a motion for the
96,380.
96,380.12.
Second.
Any further discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
And then I'm gonna make a motion for tax, which is 97,429.12.
Second.
Am I doing that right?
Yep.
Yes.
That's a 2.62% increase.
There's a second. Any further discussion?
Nope.
All in favor?
Aye.
And then this is the moderator budget?
So the next page is for town meeting and the elections. And as I mentioned before, I think that all 5 elections need to be in the budget consistently. Because if we go SB2, which I can guarantee you will be on the ballot this year, it would make it very difficult to be adding and subtracting elections. Well, not subtracting so much, but adding elections, and we have to do the elections. So in this particular case, if you look at town meeting, just that budget at the top, that is for all 5 elections and the 2 moderators. That one also includes the amount for town report, which last year we did come in, I think it was 1,800 as opposed to 2,000 on that one. So this one is for both the moderator and assistant moderator for all 5 elections, including town meeting. And then the election line is also for all 5 elections, including, you have to put in there our machines, how much we pay for the ballots for each election, as well as, paying the clerks. The supervisors are also in that line. And we also did add, or I did add back in the police detail. We did have that in the budget last year. That was removed out of our budget, and the police picked it up. I think it's important to reflect it, that it's coming for elections. And the amounts that I got there were from the police chief, as far as, because those are detail rates, and how many police would be there, including the police chief.
This is 5 elections in 26 versus how many in 25?
We only had one this year. We only had town meeting this year. But next year, we have 3 elections. The 5 elections are the max that we would have in a year.
I think we had that in 20,
We had it last year,
yeah,
24,
yeah.
So is this 26 based on 5?
yes. And the explanations are next to the lines.
Do you have any, just because you were mentioning a conference, like, did they talk about budgeting, how, like, what standard budgeting practices? Do you match it for how many you have, or?
What do you mean exactly? Basically,
Is this what other people are doing?
some of them pay their moderators and their supervisors
I meant in terms
hourly,
of budgeting for 5.
Yes.
As opposed to, okay.
especially if they're SB2.
I guess, so,
And the SB2 difference is because it requires the extra.
Because
default budget.
chances are people would vote for a default budget. So, and also now that we have a tax cap on top of that, you want to make sure that things are in there, that you're not adding and subtracting. Elections, we don't have a choice in doing. We have to do the elections. We have to pay per ballot, we have to pay to program the machines, and we have to pay the people that are there. So it's probably a good idea to put them all in there.
If SB2 were to pass in March of 26, though, it would be
Go to
27.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
So this is 5 elections, including town meeting.
Including town meeting, yes. Town meeting, you're not really paying, you're paying the moderators and the supervisors. I do not pay the clerks because we don't really have any, well, we have clerks that are there, but it's volunteer for that. So that's really what town meeting is. And then I did put at the bottom, as far as the police officers are concerned, for what, when, and where.
Celebrate sighting, everyone.
Greetings.
So they don't just normally schedule a police officer to be there as part of just normal?
It's part of a detail.
I mean, detail has been at previous elections, right?
I think we actually
Yes, we
did
always
get a
have.
discount. I think, if I remember correctly, when we talked about this last year, this is just the rate for the officer. We don't pay the admin fee.
Yeah, we're
Right.
not paying for the car. we're
Yeah, no,
paying
no, no.
for- 'cause we
I think
own
it's
the
just
car.
the person.
We also weren't paying out of this, the chief. So this is the extra officer.
Is the chief?
The
Chief's
chief, I
salary, so
believe,
we don't
yeah,
have to put
they
that
were
in there.
getting, right. So these are, the amounts that you see in police do not include the police chief to be there, should they choose to be there. Historically, we have not always had the police chief there. We did with Chief Doty. But we do have to have the officers there that are watching the ballot as well as they bring the ballots back and forth. So this year, they kept that line in the police budget. But I do think it should be reflected in the election budget, if that's where we're
Well,
paying
I
them.
have no idea if is it in, does anyone know, is it in this year's
Police budget? We
draft
don't know.
police budget?
Well, we'll have to, that'll be something that we'll ask.
'Cause then
It'll have
it
to be
sounds like
shaved off. yeah.
it's duplicative then, right?
As far as I knew, Chief Doty was not putting it in his budget at the time because I was putting it, we had talked about including it in this budget.
I guess we'll have to make a mental note. Check.
Oh, it's there.
Okay.
It's
there?
not going anywhere. It's stuck in my
Oh.
head.
The mental note? Okay.
Oh, yeah, it's there. That'll come out.
Okay.
I'm pretty good about that. Tell me about this.
All right. Other questions, thoughts, discussion?
It's a huge increase, but I know we only had one this year. We're gonna have 5.
Well, we're gonna have three.
Four. Three or four?
Maybe five.
We're gonna have 3 this year. We're gonna have 3 plus town meeting this year, so technically 4.
But you budgeted for 5?
Right. Because 5 is the max that
Because
you
then-
would ever have,
Then we'll
like in a
just leave this,
presidential year.
then it will be level funded every year.
It'll be level funded going forward, yes.
Unless some specific thing changes.
Unless you decided to pay your moderators more or the supervisors more, but the only other thing that could possibly increase, and I don't think that would happen anytime soon, is the price for programming the machines. Currently, they're at $500 each time,
We have 2 machines.
and we have 2 machines, yeah. Which is gonna be awesome, thank you.
You're welcome. So is this prorated so that all 5 are equal? So if you just do
Yes.
351 divided by 5?
Yes.
Which is 62.70.
But we had 65, 5, and you,
Because it's broken up.
Say it again, 6270 what?
You'd
20.
actually have to-
Oh, okay.
62, 70, 20. But this year, just for the one, you had 65, 51.
The ones down below, that 31,351, you're dividing that by 4. Town meeting is up here with, the moderators, you need to add in the moderators up at the top.
Okay.
So that's
To
actually
come up with that.
7,070.40 when you add
Mm-hmm.
town meeting and elections.
Because like we don't need extra town reports if there's more elections, so that's like a flat.
Right,
I
that's
guess what I'm
flat.
trying to figure out is what's the cost per election, forgetting about town meetings. The question is, do we want to do one less election as part of this budget or leave it at 5? That's really how I view the issue.
Well, we're trying to look at every little thing, and I would think that this year, every little thing would be adding one extra meeting in doesn't make sense to me.
Right, so what's,
I would do
what's the
4.
cost per election?
So I would divide the 31,351 by 5.
That's
Four.
6270. Is that the cost per
It's
election?
gonna come out to $25,080.80.
Say it again?
$25,080.80. If I just go to 4 meetings versus 5. And then up top, 'cause you have
Up top is just the rate for the moderator at each election. Because you're not going to include town report. That's not part of the election.
Daphne, are you sure your number's calculated right? Because it doesn't make sense.
So what I'm seeing is some of the lines only have 4, because like, we don't need printing of ballots for town meeting, right? So that's
Right.
only 4 elections.
So we really can't.
Supervisors, you would only have 5. You would
So I
have
gotta
to have
go
them at
line
all
by
5.
line, right? So.
I am not
salaries-
sure that it's worth cutting $5,000 out of this. I think it might be easier just to leave this something that we can just level fund every single year.
Is that what people, do people agree with that?
No, I would do 4.
So
Thoughts?
My thought would be to keep it in the back of our mind, and if we need the $5,000 at the end of the budget cycle, we know where to look for it.
Hmm. I mean, if we're looking for places to cut later.
Right.
the only thing that is 5 elections is the amount for the moderators and the amount for the supervisors. All of the other line items are for 4 elections only.
But it looks like equipment maintenance is just per year, per machine, or per
It's per election,
per
per
machine.
machine.
All right, I'm just doing the math.
So moderators and supervisors, that's the only,
They are the only ones that get paid
for the
for
extra.
town meeting. Yep.
In the meals, that's 4,000 is for 4 meetings?
The meals is
$800 per.
4,000 for 4 elections. And that's,
800 times 5 is 4,000.
Yeah. So you did 5 or 4?
oh, I guess I did 5 there. So there's $800.
It all adds up. Software support, that stays the same. Printing, that's gonna stay the same. Notices, that stays the same?
Mm-hmm.
4 meetings. Healing,
Well,
general supplies.
can I make a suggestion, Bob?
Sure.
Can we, the idea of approving this as is conditionally upon where we're at the end. And if we're at a place at the end where we need to, look at cutting an election out of this budget, does that make sense, or are you looking at do it now?
I'm looking at doing it right now. And I'm almost done with my numbers, so. And I think I have historically proven that my numbers tend to be pretty good.
All right, we will let you do that.
1, 2, 3. It's $27,552. That's what it comes to for 4 meetings.
Say it again.
$27,552. My motion's gonna be for $27,552.
Where'd you cut from, Bob? Can you just identify?
Sure,
please?
so town moderator went to $1,600 versus 2,000. Everything else stayed the same up on the top area for the total. And then we cut from supervisors from 3,000 to 2,400. And then on meals and services, we went from 4,000 to 3,200. Stayed the same for everything else. Did I forget the? Did I put that in there?
No, because that's 4.
Right. Hold on a second, plus the 6. There's one town meeting. Three plus.
Adjusting officers. If that's for 5, it would be 1,200, right? But if it's prorated like that,
It's broken down differently.
yeah, okay, of course.
So the bottom number. So the top is gonna go to, are we doing this as 2 different ones, town meeting
Yep.
and then election? So top is gonna be for 3601. So I'll make a motion for TM moderator, town meeting moderator is 3601.
Oh.
What did we find? Please
Sorry.
tell me, I'd like to know.
I'll make a second.
Any further discussion? Did you have a comment, Jim? I want to, yeah.
Yes, I think so. And we've had issues, at least the last couple, where it was nice to have.
I don't know the answer, but Mr. Artemovich is shaking his head yes. So I think from a common sense standpoint, though, given the nature of elections, it's probably a good idea.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, we're working.
Oh, yeah, no, we
We have it.
have all that. You don't have that?
So we have one
I'll make sure
officer
you have it
times
for next
12
week.
hours for 4 elections.
Anyways, I think we have a motion that was seconded for town meeting at 3601. So all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Next motion is gonna be for the.
I'm a
election.
nay.
I'm sorry.
Sorry, go,
Yep.
I'm a nay on that.
okay.
Nay.
Okay. Vote carries 3-2.
Next one is gonna be elections, and based on looking at all the numbers, including the police, at the 6,000. I'm gonna do, it's a motion for 29,951. And the reductions is gonna be EL supervisors from 3,000 to 2,400. And for meals and services from 4,000 to 3,200. Everything else stays pretty consistent.
Second.
Okay. So is that the same on the police detail then?
I left the police detail at the 6,000. That's how I left that. I didn't start
So
messing
it
around
sounds like
with
it's
those.
basically removing 600 and 800, so 1,400 from that budget?
Correct.
Okay. Any further discussion? There was
I
a
did.
second. Yep. All in favor?
Aye.
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 Nay.
Motion carries 4-1. Think you're good. I appreciate your time.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Sorry, you got the math guy next to you, sir.
Oh, I don't mind. I can't wait for you to find the money.
Don't have a 5th election. There's only 4.
Don't have a 5th election.
Everyone's elected.
Moving right along, we have town administration and finance. Leave that up to our town administrator.
is this, looks like this position is moving from the finance budget to the TA, the town. What is that current person, what's the current rate that that person's getting paid?
Dollar or it,
Like, isn't it,
the amount that was
is it
in
an
here-
hourly position?
It is
or
an hourly position.
What's the hourly rate?
I based it on no increase for that position from this year. I don't have that with me. I had it, I can get it, it's on another sheet if you'd like.
Yeah, just, I see you have it for treasurer, so I'm not gonna have to ask for that.
Sure. I can run and get it right now.
Sure.
If you don't mind, yeah.
Quick break. Mr. Chamberlain, how you doing?
Doing very well, thank you.
See, you brought some Ensure or whatever it is, just in case you need a protein drink.
I have had a positive health reversal.
That's awesome.
Very nice, good job.
I got no pain after a year and a half in my leg, I'm doing fine.
Now we just need to get a motor for your little scooter and you're good to go.
I left you a message.
I'll see you in a minute.
Okay.
Yeah, you know what's car device over market message.
Good to be here.
It's good to see you.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you for coming.
When you have to step out, Doug, I think you're filling that with vodka. No. I don't drink, so we're good. It's clear liquid, though.
It works out to an hourly rate of 30.31.
So that's the, did you do the 13 and 39 thing?
There's no increase from this year.
Why?
I believe that was discussed.
Yep, because this is the assistant position that was given an increase by you guys along with a stipend. And therefore the salary that. she
Sorry,
had-
so the whole board did not discuss that. It sounds like there was a conversation that you had?
No, but the stipend was supposed to end when,
The stipend ended.
Right.
Yeah.
Stipend ended,
Yeah.
and then we had given that
That was
increase
pre me, so.
as in advance, I thought, to other increases. So we're giving that.
No. Okay, so what's the current rate of pay?
30.31.
I thought when we increased and gave the increase in salary, it was done as in advance to what she would otherwise have gotten.
And I don't know what your increase was.
That was my understanding.
my thought on the topic was it was a stipend while she was doing extra duties.
Well, there was the stipend, but then there was also an increase in salary as well. We did both at the same time.
I thought the increase in salary was to compensate for all the work she had been doing over the summer.
Well, if there was an increase in salary, then that's what Paul's saying.
Right.
Maybe I should be more clear. We didn't discuss the fact that if there was an increase in salary, that meant that there wasn't gonna be an increase with every other employee this year.
Would, that
Well-
would be it, so you, because of so if you gave a salary increase prematurely,
No,
and you gave a stipend,
it wasn't
was a double.
prematurely. It was something that the board decided to do. And I don't know why this would be any different from deciding to giving the code enforcement officer multiple raises.
code enforcement, that's a new hire that they basically are on probation, so you're gonna review that in 6 months.
Show me the paper that says that.
I thought that was part of the agreement that we all
It's part of the
voted on.
agreement.
There's no agreement. There was nothing that we voted on that said that. So,
Anyways, my understanding, Andy, was that there were two things. There was the stipend.
Yep.
And there was the increase in pay. The increase in pay was being done in advance because of the work that was being performed. That had always been my understanding of how that happened.
Okay.
But then the stipend ended.
Stipend ended, right?
Right.
So I think this is reflective of the,
Do we know what that percentage increase was from before?
I don't know the
No.
percentage, but it was fairly significant.
It was not,
Yeah, it was. It was,
no, let me finish speaking.
Well,
We
you
did not,
sounded like you were finished.
I was trying to gather my words.
Okay.
go ahead.
This all seems kind of ridiculous because this is a non-public conversation, but I guess if we're just gonna bring it out here, then that's fine. At the time, that was discussed to be done as compensation for all of the work that this person had been doing, that the TA should have been doing. It was not an advance on a future raise.
Yeah, that's not how I viewed it. It was certainly in recognition of the work that was being done, but it was.
You're talking about the stipend. The stipend was,
No. So the
but-
stipend was
but-
from when, a stipend was specifically given while we didn't have a town administrator until we had one again.
Mhm.
The raise was to cover the amount of work that this person did while we had a town administrator who was not doing the work.
And I understand you're looking at that as retroactive, and I never viewed that as retroactive. I viewed that as moving forward.
I guess the point is that the way you viewed it and the way I viewed it is fine. It sounds like the board is now just going to make a decision without having a discussion as a board that that is what's going to happen. I feel uncomfortable with board making decisions without the whole board being involved in the discussion.
Well,
We can discuss it.
just to back up a little bit, I think their supervisor is the one that made the budget and has decided that that position doesn't require a 3% bump this year, correct?
From the knowledge I had of what happened previously this year, that's correct.
But who told you that?
Well, I knew that there was a stipend because I see the payroll, and I knew that there had been a bump as well.
But did you talk, I guess my preference would have been for you to come to the board, because it seems like different members of the board had different perceptions of what that was.
Well, I think all the budgets are open for change by all of you, so that's what you all decide to do.
Right, we're here, we're discussing.
Okay. Let me really quickly
I guess
do
I
it.
would just want to know what the rate was prior
Doesn't matter.
to the bump.
Well, no, it does matter. And I don't know the answer to that. I believe it was, I mean, we can get that information, easy enough. I want to say it was I don't know what the rate was, but I believe it was, and correct me if I'm wrong, I believe it was a 5K bump.
I don't remember.
I wasn't here for that. That was pre-Bob.
Okay. But we can get that information.
I can certainly find that out.
I mean, that's a sizable bump.
Correct. That was the idea.
in versus clawing it back. I think it's because now they're not going to be performing those extra duties. So there's two ways to go. Take it back, which is a bad look, or I can just say that was a premature increase or bump.
I would never claw back.
Yeah.
It's not my thing, but I think that was why
Yeah.
my viewpoint was, or my perspective was that this
Carry it
was,
through.
moving forward, not something that was, retroactive.
If you want to table it, I can do that research for next week.
I don't know that we need research. I think the board just has to decide what we want to do.
Can I just ask you a question?
Certainly.
So the admin assistant TA
Yeah,
is a new line item,
yes,
which is the old bookkeeper's position.
correct.
And you plan on hiring a new bookkeeper at
Just a very
at
part-time.
10 hours a week?
Correct,
Okay.
just to do payroll and accounts payable.
So basically, we're saving the finance director's
A
position.
substantial amount of money, yes.
Because that's a 42% decrease in that budget.
Well, we never budgeted for a
Finance
finance
director.
director, so.
Okay.
It was new.
It would have been an even bigger hit.
Right.
So, again, we can have the discussion. Do we keep the administrative assistant line in the town administrator budget as is?
I mean, otherwise you can just do the town administrator to be broken up into like 60/40 in order to make them more balanced, but I think that's
No. I
more
meant-
accounting work on that end, so.
Yeah, no. What I meant was, do we keep the line 115 on the second line on the town administrator budget
Mhm.
as is? It's 63045.
Yeah. I'm fine with leaving that at 6,345 and just being consistent and saying that's gonna carry through for next year.
Any further discussion on that?
My only question was, why was it less than what was budgeted last year for that position?
Which is left?
Oh, never mind, that was actual, not a budget, sorry.
Okay,
My columns were skewed.
Yep. That's it.
Because right now, we're just talking about the TA budget,
Well,
the
we've
executive
actually
office. We moved this from to
Yes.
here, so that's why you got a reduction and then an increase.
Correct.
So,
So, given all of that, is there a motion to accept that line?
for the
One-
executive office, town
Would you-
administrator?
Correct.
Which budget do we want to do first?
Oh, we haven't looked at the finance one yet, I don't believe.
I think
Yeah.
just the town
Town
administrator one.
administrator.
So that's the 197,608.
Yes.
Correct.
I'm gonna make a motion for the 197,608.
Second.
Any further discussion?
Nope.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Nay.
Vote carries 4-1.
Next is finance.
Finance, I put in the 3% for the treasurer for the 39 weeks, and the bookkeeper, as we just mentioned, and added a deputy, figuring they would come in probably one day a month, and then bookkeeper at the 10 hours.
42%
A 42% decrease, correct,
because you realigned.
yes.
What's
It's
the,
actually more than 42 because we're no longer budgeting for a finance director at
80.
Right, yeah.
Yeah, because you would have had a hit on that because you didn't have
Right.
it calculated before. So.
So I'll make a motion to accept this.
yeah, just one question though, before we
Sure.
get there on the first line, the treasurer, what's the increase there? Is that,
down the bottom written out.
no, what's the percentage?
3%.
Okay, we're back to the 3%. Okay.
And
I know, it's the placeholder. I get it.
For everyone except for that one person who we didn't put a placeholder in for just now.
Oh, okay.
And I'm fine not doing the 3%. I mean, considering what the treasurer used to get paid back when I was there, it's pretty mind-blowing, but
I mean, this is a part-time thing anyway, isn't it?
correct.
Part-time, how many hours are we approximating?
Well, I mean, this week he was here two days, but we also have the audit going on, so normally I would say 1 day a week or
How long has
10.
he been here?
Less than a year.
And he does a wonderful job, by the way.
He does.
I want to add that.
And a lot of the increases for a second person. Because we currently don't have a deputy treasurer, which we should.
Correct.
Oh, so would that include,
That's
inclusive.
included in
for
there.
a deputy?
That's included in the treasurer, yes. Just
Okay.
one day a month.
Okay.
So you said he's basically in for 2 hours a week?
No, 2 day,
Two-
day,
so
one full
16
day.
hours a week.
Well, he's here for 1 day a week generally,
Okay.
but sometimes we'll come in for a half day, what have you. And he did attend all those classes that I attended.
Is it a salary position or an hourly? Oh, so
Salary.
it's however many he needs. Okay.
Right.
I see. So this number here times the 13 weeks is basically a weekly.
I'm sorry, salary, did you say?
It is salary.
So there is a motion on the table for 72,871.
Second.
Any further discussion?
I'm just struggling over the 3%.
Yeah, but it doesn't
Still a
sound like, it
decrease.
doesn't sound like the 3% is really 3%, Bob. It sounds like
Yeah,
what's
it's a-
built
Oh,
into that is a deputy.
It's,
Well,
uh,
there
It is 3%.
There is a 3% plus a deputy.
Oh,
it's
okay.
it's $26 a week.
$720 total. So that sounds about.
You want to crunch the number on the 3%?
No, it's yeah.
I mean, and I agree that,
Mhm.
a fantastic job is done, but it sounds like if you prorate that to a full-time position, that ends up being the most expensive
3%, huh?
position in the town.
Agree.
Okay.
633.84, yeah.
So I'll amend my motion.
Wait till
Yeah,
we-
we're waiting for Bob.
Wait till we get a number.
It's $720 difference
Yeah, correct.
Over, yeah. over the
Plus-
720.
plus whatever
FICA,
FICA.
Medicare.
and-
39.
yeah.
It's $18.46. What he's taking, he's gonna get extra in pay,
Plus FICA Medicare.
plus the FICA and Medicare. And why is retirement in here? Because if he's working part-time, he's not entitled to that, correct?
I removed it.
Oh, okay. I'm looking at these three going, wait a minute.
It was because the
Yeah.
the
Bookkeeper.
move.
bookkeeper used to be, or the finance clerk.
And
whatever,
audit
whatever
expense
she
went
was.
up, huh?
Sure did.
Well, that's actually my estimate. I'm waiting for the paperwork to come in from Plodzik. But I did it based on this year's increase over last year. And bumped it up, it was like 3%. And then this year for next year I did about 4%.
Is that a flat rate? Is that like, that is what the,
I believe so.
okay, so it doesn't matter how many hours it takes them.
So, and again, you know,
I mean, I'm not gonna, $18.50 a week is
$720.
$720.
I guess the only question I have is, when we enhanced the treasurer position, it was because we didn't have the finance manager. Then we got in the finance manager. And the finance manager, has now become town administrator. So, query, are we,
Having
Well, could
redundancies
he-
that we can.
Yeah.
Could he
manage.
take on more could he?
Could
Could
he do the
do more.
bookkeeping?
He expressed an interest in doing bookkeeping, but there's an issue with segregation of duty.
Oh, I get that.
I spoke with the auditors today just to confirm that, and they said they would not recommend.
So sorry, so there should be 3 people doing things, or is there?
No, he shouldn't be writing the checks and signing them, and that's what he would technically be doing.
Is there some other function that
Well, they said that if he was willing to be deputy treasurer and bookkeeper, but I don't think he's probably gonna wanna take that.
I was more thinking, is there something that he could take off the admin assistant's plate? And the admin assistant could do more like, is there a way to reshuffle the responsibilities so not to have conflicts, but also not to have a third person?
Were you looking at skill sets?
looking at what?
Skill sets. What's the skill sets of each individual? If somebody's really numbers oriented, and that's where my focus would stay on the person that really is numbers.
Ambrose is definitely a numbers
Yeah,
guy.
he's a
Yeah.
numbers guy. I've
I
talked
mean, my thought is to just have the assistant dedicate their time to helping me so that I can concentrate on the financial end more.
So what would bookkeeping be then?
Just accounts payable and payroll.
So data entry, basically? Do you have any sense of when the new software might be up and running?
Training's supposed to start next Wednesday.
Is it possible that we won't need this many hours?
Oh, absolutely, but, I mean, Jillian said she did it all in one day, but with somebody new coming in, I mean, there's gonna be a little bit of a learning curve, but for sure, that could get reduced. Maybe 8 hours, but $50 a week.
I guess I would prefer to zero this out until we have a better sense of what the new software will allow you to not have to do manually. I know that one thing when we were talking about getting the software that we were hopeful of is that a lot of that manual data entry could be done by the departments themselves. Especially when it comes to like timesheets. It's kind of silly that we have paper time cards that you have to manually enter.
There's still gonna have to be someone double checking all of that.
Oh, double checking, sure, is different from touching pieces of paper and then manually having to enter, like calculate all those numbers and make sure the totals add up and,
So I'm just confused a little bit.
Sure.
No, not with you, with
Oh.
Letty's line of thinking. We went to spend, that we were gonna spend $200,000 on 2 positions. So now we're squabbling over $10,000, still saving $80,000.
I'm not trying to squabble. I'm just,
I think we're going around and around here.
Yeah,
There's a motion on the table.
is there?
There was a motion and a second.
oh, okay.
All right.
So
And then Bob was doing something.
I'm doing some little math here.
And I guess my discussion on the motion in the second was, again, we can, leave it, was, where we, morphed from, this idea of, treasurer being sort of a premium, and then brought on a finance manager. Where does that leave us in terms of, what we were thinking in terms of, treasurer responsibility and
I don't
duty?
think when we budgeted this amount, we thought we were getting a finance director.
True.
So,
Not at that time, but then things changed.
No, I know, but that's.
so one of the things that was just mentioned, Julie had mentioned, is you can cut it down to 8 hours. Maybe down to 8 hours, which would basically shave $2,600 for the year off of that, which would make that budget $70,271. Saving $2,600. If you guys were looking to cut, that would be something I would say, then you have one person come in 1 day a week versus potentially 2 5-hour days.
Still doesn't answer the treasurer question, but maybe
No.
there is no answer, so.
Well, maybe we don't, so, I mean, I'm okay with not giving them the 3%. I mean, that'll save us a little bit.
720.
Well, I know, but.
But then that brings you
with the
down even lower.
2,600,
Yeah, so if you do 271 minus 720, 69,551.
Does that include the FICA adjustment?
I did not.
No, we didn't change.
That's just me taking
Yeah.
general salary up. And then it would just fall in a line, but, I mean,
Should I amend my motion?
it's whatever the flavor wants to go, but I mean, to me, I would be, knowing you're gonna have to adjust FICA and everything else, I think you would have enough buffer if we had to pick up a couple extra hours here and there. If we did the 69,551, because by the time you do the calculations between FICA and retirement, or not even retirement, the FICA,
Well,
it's gonna, it
What-
should level off.
why don't we just make it an even 70,000?
You could do that too?
So can I amend my motion
Sure
to
can.
70,000?
You sure can. And there's a second on that amendment?
I'll second it.
Okay. I think we've discussed it ad nauseum. So all in favor?
Aye.
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 That was easy.
I had thought I would have information systems ready tonight, because I do finally have all the information I need, but then my time was taken up between the CPA and the auditors, so,
How's that going? That's part of-
yeah, I can
Old
update that.
business, so,
I
yeah.
can update that now. Greg, the CPA, finished today with 2024, and the auditors started today. Just one came in, just to get a sense of where we're at, and he said we're in good shape to move forward with the whole group coming in tomorrow, and they might possibly wrap up tomorrow.
And how are we doing with the accounting?
The accounting, once he's done, once the auditors are done, they're still looking at a lot of the items that I know are in question. And once they finish up tweaking what they need to tweak, then we can move forward.
Can we get a timeline from him? Because I want to have a hard stop.
Oh, tomorrow, when they finish tomorrow.
No, for the accountant.
He's done.
He's done?
He's
Yeah,
done.
Even better.
He's done. Yeah.
Bill us, close
He's
it out,
happy to
and move
come
forward.
back and do some 2025, but
Do we know how much that's gonna
He's
cost us?
gonna get us an invoice. He did go over the 40. I don't know how much over.
It sounded like a modest amount, not like a substantial.
No, it shouldn't be substantial.
Okay. I always like a guarantee not to exceed, but
We had asked for that, but given, what we've been through, I think it sounded reasonable. Let's see what we get.
and then
And,
you
and,
get
and
to
if
give
it's,
them to
and if
me,
it's
right?
not reasonable, we'll give it to you.
Cool, that works.
Okay.
He'll probably give us 50% off by the time I get done talking.
He kept assuring me he would not go over, and then last week he said he's gonna go over.
That's why I'm all for hard stops.
Yep.
Okay, then I'm done with you. Bye.
And in terms of moving forward in 25, you're comfortable with that?
Yeah, once the auditors have made all their adjustments, yes.
Okay.
Great.
Yeah, I hope to, my plan is to lock myself in an office one day a week and just work on that at least one day a week.
Okay.
So
Thanks, Julie.
information systems we're tabling.
Yes.
Yes.
All right. Old business. We crossed off Dr. Wilson. I don't know if there was any other old business before we. I put the rec director position on there because I know there are several people who have applied. I've acknowledged. Got an email today from one of them asking, where we're at in terms of, interviews. We've gotten some positions out of the way. as
Well, and I think some of the
well know.
problem is we don't know who we're hiring. We don't know
Right.
what we're hiring for. So we have these applicants, but we don't know what we're doing yet.
Right.
So we need to finalize this so we can move forward.
Can we talk about that now?
Sure.
That was, that's
Oh,
why it's
okay.
on, that's why it's on the
Sorry,
agenda. That's why it's on the agenda.
So I met with the rec department last week to kind of go over budgets.
Bob, pull your microphone closer.
Met with the rec department last week on Wednesday prematurely to them getting their budget kind of going in. There's a few tweaks that they need to do. We're meeting again tomorrow. Their understanding from the Warren article is that they're gonna have one full-timer, a director, and the part-time person, which then goes 40 hours during the week for the 16 weeks during the summer session. So they're still tweaking their budget, but that's what they're seeking. They're seeking a full-time director and retaining the part-time director,
Program coordinator.
program coordinator,
Right.
because of the Warren article.
Right, we did check the Warren article, which did provide for the program coordinator, but then there was also language in that Warren article which said that it would be placed into the 26 budget and ensuing budgets. So given that language, it seemed to me that that was something that,
That was the desire of the electorate at that
Correct.
point.
correct.
And I did warn them, just so you know, yes, it was a Warren article, but you do realize because it was a Warren article, and I know it's gonna be put into the budget, there could be another Warren article that strips your part-time off. That's the potential. So wanted them to still be prudent on their budget. One of the things that I did notice in their budget is the part-time program coordinator had in there for New Hampshire retirement, which he doesn't qualify for New Hampshire retirement because he's less than 35 hours a week, is a permanent position. So if he's doing 25.5, have we paid for New Hampshire retirement on that? So, because that was built into his budget, and that shouldn't be in there because
Sorry,
he's not eligible
For which one?
for the rec.
For the current director or the previous director?
No, not for
Program
the director,
coordinator.
for the
Talking about the program
part-time, for,
Coordinator.
Well, the program coordinator wouldn't be in the current budget. So that was Andy's.
well, in their proposal for
Okay.
next year's.
Oh,
And that's what I said, you need to strip that out. So, and we're gonna talk tomorrow. The other thing, I did do some math edification. When we had our meeting, I did the quick math for them and explained how it worked. So they're gonna adjust their budget accordingly. We'll meet again tomorrow and go from there. But my understanding is we would probably be looking at a full-time coordinator. I mean, a full-time rec director position is what we would be hiring for.
Okay, is that what you believe that?
I believe that's what they're looking for. Do I think it's what we need personally?
Yeah, that's what I'm asking, because it's what's on the agenda here. What are we gonna do about hiring a rec, director? And, are we going to do, because I know there was some discussion at some point, from the present program coordinator that we could,
Do part-time.
we could have a rec director who put in a certain number of hours that was less than full-time, along with what he did to satisfy what they need. Question is that,
But that was also with the availability of interns and cutting programs.
Like the haunted walk is not happening because we don't have the staff.
Well, it's not only just for the staff, it's also because Wayne had walked those trails and the trails were not going to be ready, or the conditions of the trails is not conducive to having people walk through there during haunted nighttime hazards. So it's not that we don't have the staff for it. It's the fact that Wayne walked
we
them a few
ask-
times and said
Didn't we
it's
literally
not.
ask and he said that it was because of staff? Okay.
Based on the discussion I had.
there was
it's-
availability of interns as a, something that was discussed as well.
So it's twofold.
I
But I
hadn't
don't
heard
think
the
it's
part
that.
about Wayne. I had only heard the part about the staff.
So, because I'd like to get the process started where we're
Doing interviews.
interviewing, because I think that's next up for us to get things,
Well, if our hands are tied by the warrant article, then our hands are tied.
well, their
But-
hands are tied with regard to the program coordinator at this point, but we're talking about for the director. Rec director. And are we going to be interviewing a rec director for a full-time position as it existed under, with Andy, or are we going to be looking for something different?
Like 32 hours or 35 hours, is that what you're thinking?
Something less than full-time, which would be, I guess, anywhere between 25 to 30 hours versus a full-time rec director position. Because the people, when we posted the position, it was posted as a full-time position. So we have a handful of resumes, for that. And the question is, we're going to be interviewing for that full-time position, or are we doing something different? We're going to be interviewing for a full-time position, then I'd like to get the interviews
Ball
going
rolling.
on it. Yeah. So, thoughts?
So I think that in this climate that we're in right now, I think that it'd be prudent for us to do what we can to save money. I know cutting of programs is not necessarily looked upon as a good thing, but from my many conversations with Jason, there are several of those programs that aren't well attended. So we could cut back on some of the ones that aren't very well attended. I think that we should go to a part-time director and keep the part-time coordinator and make up the difference with some interns and maybe, or volunteers from the town, which was done before. So that's my recommendation.
And I know there's, they have the revolving account, and that's something I gotta touch base with Julie on about, because they need the electric bills that they don't still have, because we pay 55%, they pay 45%, and they haven't seen any bills since,
Is that,
they haven't even seen the fourth quarter last year.
is that written down anywhere? That that's how that goes, or is that just another one of those handshake?
I think there's an agreement somewhere.
Yeah, I think I looked that up at one point and I did find it.
Okay.
I'd have to look back.
I know
to
that
see
when we
where-
were doing budget committee site walks, that question had come up. Why does the rec have to pay for part of their utilities for the town-owned building when no other department has
Because they
to?
rent out that building. It's a revenue stream.
So, for example, the fire department also has a revenue stream, and they don't have to pay for part of their electricity?
That goes to the ambulance revolving account that they basically usually use that towards equipment. And buy ambulances and stuff like
Sure,
that.
well, they can use it for any number of things, but
RECA uses their stuff for the wear and tear on like the furnace. That's stuff that they're basically calculating to pay for that. That's all with those revolving funds. I know they have 12 reservations already booked for that rec center for people renting it. So that's a revenue stream. People pay for soccer programs and using the fields and stuff like that, so.
so if there's something written that says like what they're responsible for paying for out of that fund and what the town's responsible for paying, I would be curious to see that.
And just to keep focus here, I want to go back to the, what are we hiring for? We hiring for a full-time, rec director or something less than a full-time? And I appreciate what, Jim has said, but I'd like to hear what others, think.
I know that at least one person was interested in not full-time, just from the resumes that we received.
That's
So,
true. You're right.
There are options.
There are options. That's true. Yeah, let me just get everyone's input, and then if you wanted to make a comment. Thoughts, Andy?
The only thing I can base this off of is the original request for 2 full-timers that was cut at town meeting to the part-timer. So there is work to be done, I would assume. Like, I haven't sat down with the rec department, nor do I have children that attend the rec department, so I don't know how busy the rec director is. And the rec commission is recommending a full-time and a part-time. So my opinion would be to stick with a full-time and a part-time, but I see both sides. But when money's tight, it's always nice to have the availability to send your kid to a rec program than a youth program, which is hundreds, sometimes thousands of dollars.
Bob?
I can go both ways as
Yeah.
far as part-time, full-time. I think, having kids that have gone through sports and now they're off to college or graduated from college, so I see different angles of it. And I think that a lot of times when you utilize the soccer program, the youth soccer program that they had, my kids pretty much used that for the first couple of years. And then they went to Seacoast United, and then they started getting into all those other programs. So I think the usage, starts to wane off once they get out of elementary school.
Sure.
And start to get into middle school.
I don't think
So-
they have programs past elementary school much anymore because of. what
Yeah,
you're
because
describing.
people transition to the other programs, and I think my son, pretty much even before he was done with elementary school, had already transitioned.
So if I can just piggyback on what you guys said, we're really not talking about taking too much away from the rec because we want to make up, want to think outside the box. If we have a part-timer, we get, you know, maybe some extra volunteers, whether that be a mix of volunteer or interns. When I did have these conversations with Jason, he seemed confident that between his position, part-time rec director, and a couple outside helpers, that could pretty much be done without, again, cutting some programs that aren't very well attended. You know, that would then lessen your scope, and you could focus more on providing, you know, better services, actually.
And I
So,
think that's one of the reasons I'm struggling with it, is because Jason came forward and said he could make it work, doing
Right.
part-time, 25.5 hours a week, and then 40 during the summer for those 16 weeks. So I'm struggling with that because I got somebody that's doing that job, and they're going to be shaving off some of the programs, but if they focus on the programs that are well-attended, I think the thing that they're struggling for, and by the way, the town does pay to clean that hall even after we burden that expense for maintaining and cleaning that building after they rent it. So I'm kind of torn. I can see going to, and I can run it by the board tomorrow when I meet with them. We have another meeting tomorrow night. I can run it by them and say, hey, this is what we're looking at. What are your thoughts?
Could they come, I'm assuming they have a chair, could they come next week and just maybe
They
fill the
are
rest of
scheduled
us
to come
in?
back next week for the 28th to present their budget.
Great, that would be a great time for them to
But
tell
I
us.
told them I didn't think they were
why.
prepared to present their budget. That's why I met with them last week, and I'm meeting with them again tomorrow, so I can kind of hone it.
No, but just, I would hope that they would have answers to what are your program numbers?
Yeah,
Like, how
definitely.
many people do you see? How many
Yeah.
people did you see 3 years ago compared to now? Like, what's changed?
I don't mind.
Yeah.
I was gonna ask you, Letty, if you had an opinion per se, but if the idea is to put it off one more week, that's fine, but let's make a decision next week so we can get the interviews rolling.
Yeah, I would agree. I'd like to get the interviews out of the way, so I think let's get the pulse for them.
I
and
think
then
we can start interviewing. I don't think we need to wait on, I mean, we've interviewed for positions without a set
I
job
don't think
title,
that's fair to the interviewee either, though,
but we
if
just
we
did
don't know what
that.
we're interviewing for.
Full-time versus part-time is a huge difference.
I mean, that's
That's a
pensions
waste of
and,
everybody's
yeah.
time.
Yeah, because there might be some people who.
Just
you
say,
know,
"I'm not
have
interested."
Submitted interviews, and if we said, well, it's not full-time any longer, they may say, okay, thank you very much, so.
Yeah.
I'll take some public comment on this. Jim, did you have?
Jim Hazard, 33 Mohawk Lane. I just wanted to clarify the
Yeah.
comment about the warrant.
Yes.
I believe per 32.7, like a warrant is only good for that fiscal year. In fact, as you know, you don't even have to expend that money anyways. But it definitely, the wording of the warrant, it was not a non-lapsing type thing. This was, so it doesn't guarantee future. I just want to make sure that you understand that. And when you said that it was,
But the language of it is bothersome to me.
yeah, the language depth, what the language said was, if approved for 2025 position will be paid out of the unreserved fund balance,
Right.
right? And in 2026, the position will become part of the operating budget in ensuing years.
Right.
So,
That's
which,
troubling language.
which again, I'm not sure how our legal person, like, because again, the legislative body at that town meeting cannot determine in 20, that we could do something this year that you could, it doesn't, I don't know why that
It's
was
not
in there.
binding. I
It's,
agree.
okay, so I just want to make sure that we're clear that
Yeah.
it doesn't bind.
No,
and
it
then the-
isn't, but it's troubling.
Yeah, and then the comment was made that it was cut. I know it's just wording, and I don't want to be picky-uni, but it really wasn't cut. There was a motion made. It was amended, and Jim McIntyre, who was a really good rec guy, right? Like
It was amended by the rec commission.
by the rec, so it wasn't like it was cut. They amended
it was
it. They amended
voluntarily
it.
done.
Yeah, that's. I
But it
just wanted
was
to make
cut.
sure.
Reduced. It was reduced.
Yeah, it was, but I'm just saying, like, it was, they did it themselves. So I just want to make sure that when you're making a decision that, because he mentioned this to me as well on the phone, and I kind of just said, look, it doesn't bind legislative bodies into the future. So I just want to made that point. Thank you.
Yep.
Becky Dunham, former member of the Communications Committee. I'm just going to raise a point that was discussed when the new software, the new website was being created. Every department was participating in ways that they could post information. I recall significantly that one thing that our former rec director said was so much time was taken up with manual operations because he didn't have the software or the capability for registrations, for paying fees. I thought that was all smoothed out, and it should be an economies of labor if that is in place right now, because that took up a lot of his time when he had to do individual registrations.
In my
So when you-
understanding, they are hoping that the new software would allow people to make reservations and make
Yes.
payments because
Just so
they don't
you,
have that.
just so you know, Bob, Becky's talking about software that we put in over a year ago.
Yes, and if they're not using it,
Oh, so they're still not up to par on that.
that's a question. How are you effectively using the software that we're giving you to economize the time spent? So I think that's a question for the board.
Yeah, I'll ask that tomorrow.
Thank you.
All right. Why don't we, I don't know if we need a motion to do this, but why don't we, oops. Why don't we discuss this next week and then make a final decision so we can go forward with interviews?
Sounds good.
Yep. Is there any other, before we get to committee updates and public comment, is there any other business that anyone wants to raise at this time?
I already gave my committee update, so
Yes, you did.
I preemptively did that.
All right. Then we'll
I
go
just-
with committee updates.
I was gonna say, the other thing too is to make sure that, again, we're oversight, so that we are doing oversight. We're not working, doing that, so I'd like to think that I'm just oversight working with the rec commission. And I want to make sure that we're all cognizant of that as we move forward on other departments, with meeting with people and everything else, so.
Fair enough.
Did you have something, Letty?
For what?
I don't know.
The updates?
Yes.
Or-
Anything.
Oh,
Or
anything.
anything.
An open table.
Yeah. I was wondering, actually, Julie, if you'd heard from Three Bearings, I think they're typically I think it's Three Bearings. They're typically the ones that give us the COLA recommendations that the board would typically, no? Okay, cool. Am I making that up? Isn't it the trust fund people?
Yeah, trustees of the trust fund usually give us what the anticipated COLA is for the upcoming year.
Okay. So that, guess you haven't got that yet. The insurance committee is meeting tomorrow. We've gotten all of the current rates for the current selections that we have for Health Trust, and then there's a table of additional plans that they offer. I know that, Julie, you had met with him on Friday. Did he have anything else? Was that all of the plans, or were there other options that he didn't include?
He was going to send another printout with that one that you mentioned on there as well, but I haven't received that, so I'll just remind him of that.
Okay.
And that's a Teams meeting for tomorrow? Did we send out a Teams invite? And was it posted as being a public meeting?
It was supposed to be a Teams meeting, but we are no longer in this room, so if it was a Teams meeting, it would be just through my computer looking at me.
Well, you don't have to turn the camera on.
No, but I'm just saying, like,
Yeah,
this room is set up for online meetings, but the auditors are gonna be here all day tomorrow, so moved it to the other end of the hall. But I could
yeah, because
open my laptop.
I have another meeting right afterwards.
Yep,
so
totally
that would
fine. I
have
can
to be
open my
Teams.
laptop up.
Yep. So if you can get me a Teams invite, I can click on
Yep,
that. at 10
I
o'clock.
think there should still be one, in the one that I sent out. Let me just check real quick. There was gonna be a BudCom meeting last night. There was not. There is going to be one next Monday instead. Last night was the joint school board public hearing on the SAU budget, which is the one that is built into each individual school budget. It is level funded, and it did pass. Their insurance TMR for this year was 16%. So if we made out less than that, we're doing pretty good.
Yeah, I just looked, there's no Teams meeting was set up for tomorrow.
Okay.
Going around the room?
Sure.
All right. So I met with Roy Olson, the deputy chief, and I met with the chief, Bird, today. Just remind everyone that Chief Bird's last day is October 30th. And we did discuss, they're looking to finalize their ARPA and encumbered funds. Julie and I spoke about that because they're trying to order some new gear for the department. And I did speak to Julie before the meeting, and we're looking into that, and we'll have an answer for them very soon. I did not, I have no updates for highway other than paving is all done. Wayne's very pleased with what happened, and they're working diligently on getting their equipment up to speed for winter. And obviously the track is going to be closed soon. We ended up having a good year. They ended up having a good year there. And finally, the police. We've been working pretty hard trying to get the chief in, the new chief. So that's pretty much all I have. Pretty excited about him coming in.
Yep. Me too. And I just want to commend Wayne, because I drove by on Saturday on my motorcycle and almost fell out of off the bike when I saw him out there with a leaf blower on Pine Road, blowing the dust off the side of the new paved road.
Well, and I will say that they've been going around, I actually missed this. They have been going around making the signs more readable, cutting back the brush, making signage, road signage better to see. So if anyone does see signs that need to be addressed, feel free to contact either myself or Wayne, and we'll make sure that we get out there and do it.
To me, that was just an above and beyond thing. I was
Yeah.
kinda shocked to see him out there with a leaf.
No, they're working hard over there. They really are.
Wayne's always above and beyond.
I know, I was just kind of like, oh my
Which is
God.
why it terrifies me that he might not be there someday. Just going back to the ARPA and the encumbered, I think that when we encumber funds, it is tied to a specific invoice.
Yes.
Contract?
Contract, yep.
My understanding is that
Be a
they're
contracted
using a
expense.
different vendor than they were before.
Hmm.
So can they still use the encumbered money?
Good question.
Okay.
Was
Julie will look into that.
Was it tied to a specific vendor?
It has to be
Well,
tied to a
it's tied to a
specific.
specific contract under the encumbrance statute, so that does suggest to me,
Locked into each
Yeah.
contractor.
yeah.
So we should make sure we know that before
Yeah.
we spend
Yeah, we will. Yeah.
that.
I mean, I'd suggest you look at the encumbrance statute again, but that's my recollection of how that works.
Yeah, because you want to dot that I and cross that T before.
We can
Actually,
talk
that'd be a good
offline
person to talk to about that.
tomorrow. So, okay.
I don't like the way your thing is looking at.
Sorry, I'll turn it.
Your Hello Kitty
Andy,
is.
what do you
I
got?
have nothing.
Okay. We have the Mooney Nunger closing on Thursday, so we will be getting that
Yay.
conservation property into our inventory. Becky and I will be attending that closing. Planning board, we just had the consultant who was there, and going through the ordinances and putting together a final version of what we'd be looking at in terms of the update on ADUs, multifamily in the commercial zone, and as well as workforce housing, which we were looking at whether or not we could combine workforce housing into ADU so that there wouldn't need to be a separate ordinance for workforce, but apparently our consultants said no.
Now, is that something that goes on the ballot, or is that something that's a warrant article?
That will go on the
Ballot.
yeah,
So the
yeah,
people that show up to vote on that, okay.
yeah.
I didn't know if
Vote-
that was
voting
discussed
on-
at town meeting, or if that's, okay.
Yeah, no, so there'll need to be a fair amount of discussion by the planning board, and I know there's, yeah, reach out for that purpose. So basically, actually, I was gonna say 3, but no, there'll actually be 4, because there'll be a change in zoning as well, where Pine Road would be industrial only, so that would be the 4th change, so 4 things on the ballot.
Are the residential homes that are on Pine Road, are they grandfathered?
Yeah.
Okay.
Becky, thank you very much for all your hard work on that. Appreciate it.
Yep. Yep, and
Well deserved.
2 of us are looking forward to Thursday.
First closing, so I just want to make sure everything's in place. I don't want to.
And I think we have the numbers down to $5.
Okay.
Yeah, or what the bottom line will be. I know.
I'll give you $5 right now. Hold on a minute.
So I think that's it, except for public comment. So is there any other public comment that anyone has at this time?
From our large audience.
Okay. Hearing none, I understand we do have some non-public, which would relate to personnel and
Make a motion to,
reputation? Is reputation? No? Just personnel?
Personnel,
Okay,
yeah. Second.
all right.
aye.
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 Aye. And good night, everyone. Thank you. Yep.
Good night.
Take just 30, 60 seconds?
Yeah.
Yeah.
How long is non-public?
If it's what I think it is, Is it just the thing that I wanted to talk about?
Oh, yeah.
Oh, well, then it's not. I just want to let the board know that. Some sort of official capacity. Trying.
You have a cell phone? Holy crap, you're rich.
We'll get to the bottom. He said I have his cell phone number. Wise ass. I do have a cell phone. It's right here. I need a new one, as a matter of fact. This one's acting up on me. It's amazing to think that this has more technology in it than this first space shuttle that went up into the crazy.
The first laptop I had in the 90s.
You can relate to this. I actually went to DOS class.
Yeah, yeah. Absolutely.
That's super useful if you want to shut down the town.
Back then, that's all there was DOS.
No, but you can still do that. So that's one of the
5.5
it's
inch
one of the most
floppy
successful.
drives.
One of the most successful ways they still get systems that are not out of date is by throwing in some DOS commands when you're filling in a form.
Yep.
And don't then the students, it goes to read at the form, it executes
Remember dialing in?
Yep.
Yeah.
The handshake.
Yeah.
That reminds me, the Primex cybersecurity people, I forgot I had a meeting with them today until they called and said, are you coming to the Zoom? And I was like, yes, I am, let me just pull the car over. She wants to meet with you sometime the first week of November. So when she sends me those dates, I will forward. What?
Oh.
Oh, yeah.
Goodbye, everyone. Good night.
You're the only